But here's the real clincher. Why, they've argued back and forth about the Confederate flag for years. Why is there suddenly this push right at this moment? Well, I'm going to tell you, folks, it's to get your mind off the Trans-Pacific Partnership that your traitorous senators passed, okay, while everybody's concentrating on the flag.
They're supposed to be Republicans.
They're supposed to be Republicans. Really? Well, they're corporatists is what they are. And what do I mean by that? But here's what I mean by that. Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator in World War II, had these black-shirted fascistas, okay? And he started street fights and then came to power, just like the National Socialists, the Nazis, did in Germany. And so the term came about, fascism. All right, and fascism is still pretty much generally defined as the blending of state and corporate power. All right, so, but Mussolini himself said, well, really, fascism is not the correct term. It is more correctly corporatism, rule by the corporations. All right, so there you go. Now, in fascist Italy and in Nazi Germany, it was the political state that gained control over the corporations, and it was that combination that created fascism. In today, in modern America, the corporations have bought, stolen, and gained control over the state. The end result's the same, fascism. That's what we have today. And just like the fascists of Italy and Germany, they preach intolerance. And what's incredible is that they get minority groups and minority religious groups and leftist groups to go along with this intolerance at the same time as they're crying that they want more tolerance. It's astounding to me.
True. Really well said. And it's getting to be, well, and what do you say? The old cliche, black is white, up is down, inside is out. It's just crazy. It's getting to be crazy.
Well, it's Orwellian, peace is war.
Of course. Let's kill you so
freedom
we can
is slavery.
No, we'll kill you so you can have a democracy and be happier.
That's right. That's exactly right. The whole thing's just nuts, and what gets me is I can't get too upset about some of these leaders because that's what they've done all through history is find all kinds of buttons to push to get the people to blindly follow them.
Easy
so that's just kind of what they do, know. But what really gets me is the people who fall for this stuff. What's the matter with people? When I see these films of Nuremberg Stadium filled with like about 1 million Germans, and they're all going, Sieg, Sieg.
What's that tell you?
And
there was a dream, and those people captured the dream in their minds and hearts, and they believed, because they had been crushed and just denigrated beyond all measure with the Treaty of Versailles.
Right. And
you can't abuse people like that.
But just think about it. If all those Germans and when Hitler got up and started ranting and screaming and waving his fist, if they just said, well, this guy's nuts, and turned around and walked off, none of that World War II, Holocaust, none of that would have happened. Because there's no leader in history who's been able to do anything on their own. They've got to have a following. And we don't know what happened in World War II. We don't even know the truth of that. No, we don't. We do not know the truth of World War II. The one truth I do know, I'm now convinced of, and you've been talking about this for some time off and on recently, is that Hitler and Eva Braun, they got away. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they lived. In fact, Eva Braun died just apparently a few years ago. Hitler and Eva went to Argentina, first to Bariloche, and then to Cordova, and then to one other place where he did die in 1962, I believe, or 62. I think it was 62. And it is said that he's buried down there. Now, there's another story I ran across of a woman aviator, not Hannah Reich, another one, Anna Kleischmer or something.
Anyway, she's still alive, Jim, living in Southern California. She flew the Junkers 6-engine JU, what the hell was it, 339 or something. She flew that plane over Canada and then down over New York. And they took pictures.
Yeah.
And they flew all the way back to Germany. She flew it.
Yeah. Yep. That was the one that they had scheduled to.
Well, that took Adolf and Eva and many others to Argentina. They landed that plane. They know where it landed. It was completely chopped up and thrown in the river as soon as it landed.
Yeah.
He talked to Harry Cooper about that.
I was trying to think, because I've got that in my book, The Rise of the Fourth Reich. There is, it was a Junker. I want to say, no, the 262 is a Messerschmitt.
No, this is a
360 or something like that. Anyway, it was a 6-engine bomber.
Yeah.
And they had about 40 of them at this air base up in Norway that they were trying to complete.
No, they only made this particular bomber. They only completed 2. The third was not finished when the war ended. I guarantee it. You're thinking of another one.
It was an extension, but they had other big bombers, because I know one of them, and this is not the one you're talking about. This is one that flew within 25 miles of New York, and then turned around, took some pictures of the skyline, turned around, and went back. And this was they had about 40 of these. I think the one you're talking about was almost a prototype that was a extension, a better one. But the whole thing is they were getting ready. They had a nuclear bomb. But the problem was they had no perfected delivery system. They had the A-10 3-stage rocket, which they had dubbed the New York rocket, if that gives you any indication of what their plan was. But they didn't have a good guidance system. In fact, the V-1s and the V-2s that they dropped over London, their guidance system was they measured out the correct amount of fuel so that it would fly over London and then run out of fuel and then drop. Okay? That was their guidance system. So that was the big problem, and they were working on that. So the A-10 rocket might have reached there, but they couldn't have assured of it of hitting any target. And then they had these bombers, including the advanced models that you're talking about. But the problem was they didn't have the airfield finished, and they didn't have enough of them. But so also by that time, by 1945, starting into that year, they realized that, it was all over. The Allies had broken out of Normandy, and the Eastern, the Russian army was pouring in from the east, and there was no stopping them.
Terrible tragedy underway.
And so they knew, though, that if they had unleashed their nuclear bomb and either hit Paris or London or New York, that the Allies, they wouldn't have sued for peace. They would have obliterated Germany.
Yeah.
And they would have left no stone standing. Correct. And so they cut a deal, the upper echelon, the moneyed people, cut a deal with the moneyed upper crust people of the Pan-American United Kingdom bunch, who had funded Hitler to begin with, as you well know.
Yeah.
Okay, so they cut a deal, and they swapped us their nuclear technology in exchange for immunity. That's why we can let them all come over here under Operation Paperclip, and we let Hitler and Eva get down to South America, and nothing ever was much done about it. As you well know, Jeff, now there are all kinds of FBI reports that are now becoming declassified.
And the most interesting...
They knew where they were. They knew who they were.
The most interesting FBI report of all is the one where J. Edgar calls off all searches for Adolf Hitler in Argentina. He was late being pulled into the loop,
right?
But he finally got it, and he issued. And we have that letter now.
Yeah.
And he issued that letter to all of the members who were working on that team to stop looking for him.
That's right.
And they just dropped it. That was the deal. They traded technology for Hitler's life, and Eva Braun and thousands of upper echelon Germans who were able to get away. And
exactly.
a lot of them got away in American Air Force DC-4s long-distance versions, which were flown by American pilots.
Yeah.
I knew somebody who knew one of the pilots, and he flew 2 rounds from Spain, and I think they refueled the Canaries, and then he went to Argentina 2 times. He said, but many of his other P-51 squadron pilots made many more trips with Ludi and booty and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second, we'll come right back. Okay, and we're back with Jim. I'm going to send you an email right now with the Junkers 339, the AU or JU 339. That was called the New Yorker. It was an extended version of the JU Junkers 290. 220. Jesus. 293. Anyway, I get them confused.
I think it's a 390 because I finally found it here.
It is 390. There was a 290, then there was a 390.
Yeah.
You got it.
And the 390 was a 6-engine bomber. Here is the quote from the Washington Post, June 29th, 1945. RAF officers today said that the Germans had nearly completed preparations for bombing New York from a colossal airfield near Oslo, Norway, when the war ended.
Yeah.
40 giant bombers with a 7,000-mile range.
Those were the 290s.
Were found on this base. The largest Luftwaffe field I've ever seen, said one officer.
Oh, they had 40 290s completed.
Yep.
Wow.
German ground crews said the planes were held in readiness for a mission to New York. Okay, now I also have in my files a 1943 feasibility study map of an atom bomb blast radius on Manhattan Island.
I know, I've seen that. I know.
Yeah.
What does that tell you? All right.
Now, how did we get their nuclear technology? We got it from the U-boat U-234.
Correct.
Which is pretty funny because a lot of the people that were working on it, and particularly some of the Japanese that were well aware of the work that was being done on the atomic bomb, thought, well, these stupid Germans, they can't even get it. It's U-235. Talking about uranium, enriched uranium-235, which they used for the uranium bombs, but U-234 was the U-boat U-234. And 6 days after Germany surrendered, this U-234 had gone through active combat areas with nobody and was spotted, but nothing was done. They finally arrived off the coast of the United States and surrendered to the USS Sutton on May the 14th, 1945. Now, on board the U-234 was 2 of their jet fighters, the Me-262, that had been kind of broken down, and 10 gold-line cylinders of uranium, 560 kilograms. Now, they tried to say later on that, well, it was just raw uranium, it wasn't enriched uranium, but that's bull, because if it was not enriched, there was no need to have gold-line cylinders. The gold was there to contain the radiation. But the key to the thing is that also on this U-234 was Dr. Heinz Schlicke and his infrared proximity fuses. One of the problems we had with the Manhattan Project and the development of the atomic bomb was that we couldn't quite come up with fuses that were fast enough to trigger the nuclear explosion. But Dr. Schlicke had, and he had these infrared proximity fuses. So all of a sudden, we've got everything we needed. Now, follow this timeline. So in early 1945, Roosevelt was told that we had only enriched enough uranium for 1 atomic bomb, and of course we had to test it. But then on May the 14th, 1945, the U-234 is taken into captivity, and we've suddenly got 560 kilograms of enriched uranium. Okay, on July, just about a month later, July the 16th, they finally set off the first atomic bomb at the Trinity site in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and it worked. That very day, the USS Indianapolis departs San Francisco, and on July the 26th, 10 days later, they arrived at Tinian, the island, the closest bombing base we had to Japan. And then about a week later, on August the 6th, the Enola Gay takes off from Tinian and bombs Hiroshima with an uranium bomb. And then, less than a week later, they bombed Nagasaki with a uranium bomb. All right, how did we suddenly get all this uranium? We got it from the Germans and the Nazis. That was the swap. So see, folks, if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it, and the victors can tell you any little cover story they want.
Absolutely, and they do.
And they do.
Oh, they make it up on the fly any way they want to make it up. I can get you Marlene Dietrich's sunglasses if you want.
Mm.
Well, she was one of those Bruce Jenner types early on.
Falling in love again. What am I to do?
Oh, you're very good.
Hey, that was my Marlene Dietrich imitation.
No, that was good. That was no imitation. That was good. All right.
By the way, before we run out of time or you start hitting me with some musical tune, my new book, Population Control, How Corporate Owners Are Killing Us, is now out, available. Everybody needs to get it because, folks, this goes beyond revelations or politics or philosophical. This is self-defense. If you don't find out what they're doing to you and your family and your kids,
I got it right here.
You got it. Good.
Right here.
Good.
All right, I'll be right back. I gotta actually run outside for a minute to the studio limousine and pick something up. I'll be right back. Okay, are we back?
I hope so.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and by the way, I thank you for sending me this. I had not seen this article about the most dangerous photo recon mission of World War II. But, yes, indeed, it was a Junkers 390, the six-engine plane, flown by Anna Kreisling. Or she was the co-pilot. And
she was a little tiny thing. Yeah.
Hey, this was in into August 1943, mm-hmm. and they came in over Canada and photographed in heavy industrial plants in Michigan, and then went on to New York. Yeah. And it was over New York that they got spotted, but they flew out over the Atlantic and lost any pursuers. And I am now convinced because that bomb radius study by the Luftwaffe was in the fall of 1943, and so I'll bet you anything it was based on the photographs that Anna and her pilot took.
I completely agree. See, this is an unknown. Hannah Reich was the one who everybody knew.
She's the most famous one.
Yeah, but this gal was a little bitsy thing and tough as nails. Tough as nails.
Yeah, that's why they nicknamed her the White Wolf of the Luftwaffe.
That's right.
Because she had apparently frosty blonde hair and these penetrating blue eyes.
Amazing stuff.
Yeah, and I was reading the article. It's really fascinating. She was trying to take off, and an American tank showed up, and she stopped and got out, and they thought she was a movie star, but they took her back to the base, and let me see here.
Is this true? Take your time. This is fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It's great.
Okay, Todd, Todd, do me a favor. Turn me down so I can cue up a little piece of music. Keep talking, Jim. Turn me down, Todd.
While taxiing in the snow, an American Sherman tank crew captured her after she had turned off the engine and pulling off her flight helmet. They thought she was a movie star. For the next 6 months, she poured coffee for the U.S. Army and did not spend one night in a POW camp. Everyone thought she was part of Bob Hope's USO show. Isn't that great?
Keep going for a little longer.
All right. What else was there? In the December issue of Air Progress magazine in 1965, they finally mentioned the Junkers 390 overflying Michigan and New York, but this was held top secret all throughout World War II and the Cold War. Okay, they didn't want anybody to know that you could penetrate our air that well.
That makes the lonely winter
almost a little more.
And if you look in the books, they'll say only 2 of these Ju-390s were built. See, and that's kind of what you were saying. You said there's only 1 or 2. But here they say actually there's about 11 built, although that Washington Post article in 45 said they had 40 of them. But they were being used in Russia to fly Japanese-held fields in China.
Weren't they the 290s, Jim?
I don't know of a 290. It's just the 390.
No, there was a 290. Look it up.
Okay.
And I can't imagine they had 40 390s. I just can't, because I've been told over and over again they had 2, and the third was in construction. But check it out. Look for the 290.
Yeah, they did have 290s. Yeah, and they almost looked the same, except the 290 was a 4-engine.
That's right.
Bomber, and the 390 was a 6-engine bomber.
Most impressive looking. Go ahead.
Only 47 Ju-390s were built. Okay, so there we go. I think probably the 40 craft that they were talking about in Norway were the 290s. But they had, let's see, it says here that, it doesn't say how many they had, but it says it was a plane that might have been.
Jim's new book, what was the original title going to be?
Death Culture.
Death Culture.
Yeah.
Now, you see, that would have sold. I just don't understand. You come up with these brilliant titles. Maybe you should just sell titles to books for a living.
Well, but they keep chunking them, you know.
I know.
I'm still upset about the fact that they changed my title from Zombie Nation.
Oh, I would be too.
To The $1 Trillion Conspiracy.
Well,
and
maybe
it got
one
placed
day.
on the economic finance shelf.
Can you get the damn book rights back someday?
Well,
or just write, hey, you know what? Just write another one on your own. We'll electronically publish it.
There you go.
The hell with it. That Zombie Nation.
It's getting more and more easy to do that.
You ought to. Oh, it's
with
ridiculous.
Now with publishing on demand, and you can build the thing in your computer. You self-publish.
You could also put video
to it on Amazon, and then the only thing you're lacking is just publicity.
You can put video to it too, and just copyright the title, keep it. It's perfect. All right.
What kills me is this was like 2000.
Yeah, I remember.
11,
we went through this. It was miserable.
We went through it, and now look, the zombie fad is just going as strong as ever. You know,
it's absolutely. It has not peaked. It's roaring right along. It's going to. They're teaching American troops something about how to kill zombies.
Right.
I read that. Did you see that story?
Yeah, I saw that, and of course, and that's pretty creepy because if you think about it, before every war, there has to be an effort to dehumanize your enemy. Okay,
you got it.
Because you can't get people to go out and kill people if they think they're just killing people. But if they're bestial Japs, or if they're nasty Nazis, or if they're zombies, well, you can shoot them all day long.
ISIS. Don't forget about ISIS.
Oh, ISIS. Yeah, the beheaders. Yeah, of course.
All right, time. We got to get a little music in here. Buy my books, and the most recent example of buy Jim's books is Population Control, otherwise known as Zombie Nation 2.0.
That's it.
How corporate owners are killing us.
And quickly, let me get in my caveat, because I'm not blaming all corporations or even all corporate officers.
You love those people. It's all right.
Well, there's a lot of presidents, vice presidents, people working for the corporations, and they're all good people. They're fine people. They got Harvard business degrees, but they're capable administrators. They are there to see the machine runs quietly, smoothly, efficiently, and that the bottom line stays going. They don't make the policy decisions. Those are made by certain CEOs, the board chairman, the majority stockholder, and and a lot of people think you have to have 51% of the stock to control a company. No. If you own 10% of the stock, but nobody else owns 10%, you're the majority stockholder, and what you say goes.
Right.
These are the people that we have to look at, and when I say they are this and they are that, in this book, Jeff, if you'll look at the appendix, I listed the attendees to the 2014 Bilderberg meeting, and there they are. There's the names and the positions of these people, and not all of them, but they're within those folks. You're going to find people who are trying to decimate the world's population.
It seems to me that more of the participants at this year's Bilderberg were CEOs than I've seen before. They used to have names, kind of like celebrity types would be there. And
right.
Now they got a lot, it's corporate, a lot of corporate stuff.
Well, that's because, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we're now a corporatocracy,
That's, you're one of the few people that can pronounce that word beside me.
Well, who's beside you anyway?
Let me look around. There's nobody in here.
There you go.
So it happens when you live alone.
But there's the list. They're real people with real names and real positions, and we need to figure out who they are, what they're doing, and so we can protect ourselves.
The nice thing about Jim's books, and I don't know how he does it because they don't publish them real quickly. It takes time. Now, he has the mind that allows him to look forward and anticipate what's going to be current, relevant, and hot when the book hits the stand. And he's got the Bilderberg. The whole lineup is right here. When did this book first get turned in, so to speak, tomorrow?
No, are you kidding me? It was last year, early fall.
All right, a year ago, William Morrow.
And I was talking about mass shooters on psychiatric drugs. I was talking about militarization of the police. I'm talking about the fracking. All of these are now big controversies.
Yeah, and the book is
I saw them coming.
Population Control.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So you need to get this book so you can defend yourself and your family.
You read this, and it's the nice thing about it is how many pages? 355 pages about. That's doable. It's not a 900-page.
Right.
And the nice big letters. They're 1 inch tall. I could read this.
Yeah, well, I try to write for everybody.
You do a beautiful job. Soft drink hazards, you got it all in here.
Yep.
We're walking through a minefield. I'm surprised that Morrow published this, frankly.
Well, I had to fight tooth and toenail.
I know. You used to call me up.
But I will say this. Unlike some in the past, they've actually just flat censored me in the past, and they've also just, canceled a book even as it was going to the printers. But on this one, I'll have to say, we're out. Maybe we'll talk about it next time.
I don't know what's going on here.
Oh. How'd that woman get in there?
I was alone here, too. I shouldn't.
How'd that woman
over there
get
in the corner singing. I don't know what the hell she's doing. Anyway, listen, congratulations on...
I want to, we don't have time to get into this, but remind me next time. I want to tell you about the White House chef who served both the Bush family and the Clinton family, and is on the record as saying that, see, they don't eat the same thing we do. They eat only nutritious foods and organic foods. They even had a garden on the roof of the White House.
Is that true?
Yeah, and so he came out and says this, and then, oh my gosh, just a few weeks ago, they found his body off a hiking trail. Said I guess he tripped and drowned. So what's that?
Oh, man.
How many bodies does that make in the wake of the Clinton
Well, let me tell you.
Political
just about 8 weeks ago, this was almost a body, a dead one.
Yes.
And I'm very lucky.
They're making their moves.
They are killing people, and I have to be... I just... When you're in a wreck, Jim, and there are eyewitnesses, and they're standing there watching, and you're dead in the car for all they can tell, and a pickup truck with 2 guys comes racing up before the fire trucks get there. 2 guys jump out, go right into your car to the broken glass and the doors busted open, and start looking for something. And then when the fire trucks just about are to arrive, they pull back, jump in their truck, and take off. What does that tell you?
Well, what do you think they could have been looking for? You're kind of like me. If you know something, you tell it over the air.
They were looking for a part of the operation.
Ah, the part that could,
They can shut your brain off. Probably a little device. They're looking for something. Anyway.
Many moons ago, I would accuse you of being paranoid, but what I have found out is just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you.
That's great. All right, we'll talk. You take care. Thanks,
Adios,
Jim.
My friend.
Good night. All right, that's our program tonight. We're going to take a little break here and carry on with a rerun of this program. So if you're just joining us, enjoy. And the network runs 24 hours a day. And we're adding more people, by the way. Really, really interesting people. So stay tuned.
Seek.
What's that tell you?
You know, and
there was a dream,
if they
and those
simply
people
said,
captured the dream in their
Yeah.
minds and hearts, and
Yeah.
they believed, because
Yeah.
they had been crushed and just denigrated beyond all measure with the Treaty of Versailles.
Right. And
You can't abuse
they all
people
went
like
for it.
that.
But just think about it. If all those Germans and when Hitler got up and started ranting and screaming and waving his fist, if they just said, "Well, this guy's nuts," and turned around and walked off, none of that World War II, Holocaust, none of that would have happened. Because there's no leader in history who's been able to do anything on their own.
Yeah.
They've got to have a following. And
we don't know what happened in World War II.
We don't even know the truth of that. No, we don't. But here's the real clincher. Why, they've argued back and forth about the Confederate flag for years. Why is there suddenly this push right at this moment? Well, I'm going to tell you, folks, it's to get your mind off the Trans-Pacific Partnership that your traitorous senators passed, okay, while everybody's concentrating on the flag.
They're supposed to be Republicans.
They're supposed to be Republicans. Really? Well, they're corporatists is what they are. And what do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean by that. Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator in World War II, had these black-shirted fascistas, okay? And he started street fights and...
Crazy.
Well, it's Orwellian, peace is war.
Of course. Let's kill you so we
freedom
can
is slavery.
No, we'll kill you so you can have a democracy and be happier.
That's right. That's exactly right. The whole thing's just nuts. And what gets me is I can't get too upset about some of these leaders because that's what they've done all through history is find all kinds of buttons to push to get the people to blindly follow them.
Easy
so that's just kind of what they do, you know. But what really gets me is the people who fall for this stuff. What's the matter with people? When I see these films of Nuremberg Stadium filled with about 1 million Germans, and they're all going, the corporations have bought, stolen, and gained control over the state. The end result's the same, fascism. That's what we have today. And just like the fascists of Italy and Germany, they preach intolerance. And what's incredible is that they get minority groups and minority religious groups and leftist groups to go along with this intolerance at the same time as they're crying that they want more tolerance. It's astounding to me.
True. Really well said. And it's getting to be, well, and what do you say? The old cliche, black is white, up is down, inside is out. It's just crazy. That's right. It's getting to be...
Then came to power, just like the National Socialists, the Nazis did in Germany. And so the term came about, fascism. All right? And fascism is still pretty much generally defined as the blending of state and corporate power.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, but Mussolini himself said, well, really, fascism is not the correct term. It is more correctly corporatism, rule by the corporations. All right. So there you go. Now, in fascist Italy and in Nazi Germany, it was the political state that gained control over the corporations, and it was that combination that created fascism. In today, in modern America,